All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about how remote hiring has gone from being, a temporary fix to an absolute core growth strategy, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. This isn't just a trend anymore. It's a fundamental change in how you build a winning team, and we're going to show you exactly how to take advantage of it. So, I want to start with a big question, one that kind of reframes everything. For decades, who you could hire was pretty much limited by who lived nearby. But what if the perfect person, the one who could totally scale your business, lives halfway across the country, or even the world? Think about that for a second. And this, right here, this is the heart of that whole transformation. We're moving away from the old limits of just a local talent pool and into the incredible potential of a global one. It's no longer about who's close, it's about who's the best. Period. We're shifting from hiring based on a zip code to hiring based on pure skill and merit. So the big question is, how do you actually leverage this? Well, in our first section, we're going to explore why small businesses, just like yours, are in this unique, powerful position to gain a massive competitive edge in this new world. And check this out. This reveals your secret weapon. A staggering 75% of small businesses offer work flexibility. Compare that to just 17% of the big enterprise giants. In a world where top talent is demanding that flexibility, your agility isn't just a nice perk. It's how you win against the big guys. Okay, so you have this advantage, but what does that really get you? In Section 2, we're going to get into the tangible rewards, focusing on both the incredible talent you can attract and, yes, the serious money you can save. Maybe the most powerful benefit is this. You can hire for super specialized skills without having to compromise. Imagine you need a really niche kind of engineer. Instead of settling for someone local who you have to train up, you can hire a world-class expert who's ready to deliver value from day one. That is an absolute game changer. And then, of course, there's the money. The financial impact is immediate and, honestly, pretty huge. By cutting down or even getting rid of office costs, think rent, utilities, businesses are saving, on average, $11,000 per employee every single year. But the savings don't even stop there. Remember that flexibility we talked about? Turns out it can slash your employee turnover by up to 33%. And when you think about how it can cost thousands of dollars to replace just one person, keeping your best talent isn't just good for morale, it's a massive financial win. So here's the really clever part. It's what you do with those savings. This isn't just about cutting costs for the sake of it. It's about smart reallocation. The money you save on an office lease can now pay for the compliance services you need to hire globally. The money you save from lower turnover can be poured into great virtual training in the best collaboration tech. The system literally funds its own growth. This brings us right to Section 3, how to actually win the talent war. How can your small business craft an offer that's even more compelling than what those corporate giants are throwing around? You win by changing the game. Look, you might not be able to compete on a massive base salary, but you can offer equity, real ownership in the company. Instead of vague corporate stability, you offer true flexibility and the autonomy to do great work. And maybe most importantly, you offer something priceless, a chance for their work to have a direct, visible impact. That's a motivator a giant corporate machine just can't touch. Okay, so you've hired that awesome remote talent. Now what? Section 4 is all about building the engine inside your company, the systems and the culture that will make your distributed team not just work, but thrive for the long haul. Building a remote culture can feel a little abstract, I get it, but it really boils down to these 3 pillars. First, you have to master asynchronous communication, things like really detailed messages and video updates so work gets done across time zones without back-to-back meetings. Second, you have to be super intentional about creating human connection. And third, and this is a big one, you have to shift your entire mindset to focus on the results people produce, not the hours they're online. And that last point, it's a fundamental change. Managing a remote team isn't about watching a green dot on a screen. It's about measuring results against clear goals. It requires a foundation of trust and giving your people real autonomy. Regular one-on-ones become absolutely critical, not for checking up, but for making sure everyone, no matter where they are, sees a clear and fair path to grow with you. Now for a super critical topic, navigating the risks. In our final section, we're going to cover the essential guardrails, legal, tax, and security that you absolutely need to have in place as you start hiring beyond your own borders.
First, let's break down a concept that sounds complicated but is really important: permanent establishment risk, or PE risk. In simple terms, it means if you're not careful, hiring an employee in another country could accidentally make your business liable for corporate taxes in that country. It's a serious financial risk, but don't worry, it's one you can absolutely manage.
And the good news is you can be really proactive about avoiding this risk. Things like making remote work a voluntary option, not having too much control over an employee's home office, and making sure all major contracts are signed from your home base. But the single most powerful tool, as we're about to see, is using a special kind of partner. And that brings us to these two key solutions: PEOs and ERRs. A PEO is great if you're expanding within your own country where you already have a legal setup. But for true global hiring, an employer of record, or EOR, is the real game changer. They legally hire the employee for you in that country. That means you don't need to set up a whole foreign company, which basically solves that whole PEO risk problem.
Finally, we can't forget cybersecurity. A distributed team means more open doors for threats, so these protocols are totally non-negotiable. Mandatory security training for every new hire, enforcing multi-factor authentication everywhere, having a crystal clear policy for personal devices, and making sure all your sensitive data is encrypted. These are the basics that will protect your business.
This quote just nails the whole thing. Getting that competitive edge through remote work is all about being flexible, but making it last, achieving that sustainable, long-term success, that depends entirely on building a solid foundation of compliance and security. So we end right back where we started. That game-changing hire, the person who can take your business to a whole new level, is out there right now, somewhere in the world. After going through this playbook, the only real question left is, are you ready to build the engine that can go out and find them?